Right now, money is something that most people don't understand. Oh, I don't get it. My financial advisor takes care of that. My bank takes care of that. I've got an IRA. I've got a 401k. Who are you kidding? You are losing so much money and you're out of touch with your money. Centralized financial institutions do not have your interests at stake. They just don't. Their job is to make a lot of money. You have been brainwashed over the past 200 years. Your financial institutions have told you that you're not smart enough. This is too complicated. You need an expert. You need one of those fast-talking Wall Street bankers and brokers to manage your money, the money that you go and work hard for every single day. They say that you're not smart enough to manage your own finances, your own livelihood, the future of your families and your children. There's something wrong with that. We disagree with that statement. I believe that the more we empower humanity, the more we advance humanity. And that's what we've been doing here at London Real. And so the DeFi Academy is just a continuation of giving the freedom back to the people. That means your free right to choose, your free right to information, your free right to do what you want and put what you want in your body, and your free right to manage your own money. So I'm not going to be talking about theory. I'm not going to be putting up charts of where coins trade. You're going to be putting these transactions on. You're going to be doing hot and cold storage. You're going to go on Uniswap and start experimenting. You're going to be doing yield farming. You're going to be joining liquidity pools. And you're going to be forced to trade the markets. That's what we do inside my academies. Welcome to DeFi Real. My name is Brian Rose, and this is our brand new program covering everything DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance. This is a $9 trillion per year marketplace. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can profit from what I'm calling the greatest dislocation of wealth in human history. And I don't say that lightly. In fact, Forbes magazine recently said, and I quote, "This will shift the structure of the whole financial system at a macroeconomic level." And the truth is this: decentralized finance, or DeFi, is already revolutionizing the world of finance. You just don't know it yet. And this incredible phenomenon is growing at breakneck speed. And today, I specifically want to talk about three different concepts. First, I want to talk about what is DeFi. This might be the first time you're hearing about it. This could be the 100th time you're hearing about it, but I want to go deeper because DeFi gives financial freedom back to the people. I'm talking about billions of people around the world that don't have access to basic financial services that can not only change their lives, but change everyone's life as well. Next, I'm going to talk about the difference between DeFi and cryptocurrencies. There's a big difference. And we're seeing crypto go up and down. Apparently, Elon Musk fell out of love with Bitcoin overnight. That doesn't matter with what we're doing here with the infrastructure of DeFi, and I'm going to talk more about that today. Second, I want to go into how to trade the markets. Again, how do you trade the markets? Most people have no idea. And when I see the behavior going on right now in the crypto space and the DeFi space, I see a bunch of newbies. That's what I see. I spent 15 years in the industry learning how to trade the financial markets. And there's nothing easy about it. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes emotional discipline. It takes intelligence. It's not an easy thing to do. And I'm going to talk about how I did it and how you can do that as well. I was recruited from MIT in my engineering school to work on Wall Street as one of the rocket scientists that would really try to price these complex financial derivative instruments that are being used today in DeFi and sell them into various customers around the world. I did this throughout the 90s. Then I moved to London in the late 90s, and I brokered one of the first interdealer credit derivative swaps. And I went on to make a lot of money in credit derivative swap indexes in the 2000s. And that's how I ended up forming London Real. So I'll talk about that today. Third, I want to talk about how we can give financial freedom back to the people by investing in DeFi. It's going to give literally billions of people access to financial services, which will change the world. I've spent the last 10 years of my life democratizing information through my YouTube channel, London Real. It's been consumed by 500 million people in the world. Incredible ideas that I know have literally changed millions of people's lives. We've also gone on to fight for some of your basic rights. Last year, my entire organization fought for your right to free speech. And we went head to head with trillion-dollar technology companies and said no Not on our watch. You will not take away our basic human rights. And we almost lost everything in fighting for it, but we also fought back and we won, and we couldn't be more proud. This year, I ran to be your next mayor of London. And again, we fought back for our right for free and fair elections. The police actually tried to stop me and ban me from campaigning. And now today, we are putting all of our efforts to fight for financial freedom, your freedom, and that for all of the citizens around the world, and I couldn't be more excited. So again, I want to get your questions today. This is going to be a completely interactive DeFi reel, and I can't wait to get started. Before we do, I want to talk about our brand new Defy Academy. And this is an incredible learning institution that we announced last week. And our first program is called the DeFi Accelerator. And we have been absolutely inundated with applications from around the world. The response has been overwhelming. I've actually never seen anything quite like it. We've already accepted students from America, Canada, Slovakia, Algeria, the UAE, Saudi, France, all sorts of places. And they are already in our private group getting warmed up to the course that's going to start on the 21st. These are some incredible, real players here. And they couldn't be more excited. There is real interest and passion here. And we couldn't be more excited to build the future infrastructure of decentralized finance. And again, if you come to our website right now at londonreal.tv/DeFi and you apply to be a part of this elite group, there's a chance you might see this pop up in your inbox. And this is one of the emails that some very few people received this week, which basically said, congratulations, you have been chosen to be part of our elite team and join the Defy Academy. And again, I had people reply back and said they were so excited. They knew this was a new place in their life and a new phase in their life as well. So for your interest, I hope you get one of those. But we don't send out that many of them. And so you've got to show us that you deserve to be a part of this group. And I couldn't be more excited because you're going to join me and I'm going to teach you how to profit from what I'm calling the greatest dislocation of wealth in human history. And again, I'm looking for a small group of people who want to actively participate in this upcoming DeFi revolution. I'm looking for serious individuals only with real net worth who want to build this exciting financial infrastructure. I'm looking for partners, collaborators, investors, colleagues who want to join forces and create real value and generational wealth. If you're one of those people, go to londonreal.tv/DeFi and submit your application. And again, sell me. Tell me why you should be a part of our academy. And let me just be clear. This is not for everyone. My academy is not for crypto day traders. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for people who are trying to get rich quick. No interest in that. I'm not looking for people that are meme coin fans and forum trolls. If you like doing that, go waste your time somewhere else. And I'm not looking for Bitcoin fanboys and crypto academics who like to talk about things, but they never actually pull the trigger and try to build something and put money on the line. So if that's one of you, this is not for you. Please don't go to my page. But if you're a different type of person, if you're a person who really wants to invest themselves long-term in this incredible technology and movement, I'm looking for people who want to pull the trigger, who want to get into the arena, who faces, they're going to be marred by dust and sweat and blood from the fight. But in the end, you're going to know great enthusiasms, great devotions, and great success. And to be very clear, this is not a get rich quick scheme. I'm not promising overnight gains. My team is going to be building and investing in the crucial parts of the DeFi digital infrastructure of the future. And there's going to be some incredible opportunities and also great risks. And if you have a long-term perspective, then you're the ones that should apply. I'm going to be dedicating the next 10 years of my life to DeFi and all of its financial infrastructure and innovation, and I couldn't be more excited. So again, we're closing this course out soon. The first live call is June 21st. If you want to be a part of that, go to londonreal.tv/DeFi, submit your application, and cross your fingers and hope for the best. And I look forward to seeing you on that first live call. All right, I want to get into my 3 points today, but first I want to hear from you. Answer these 4 questions for me right now. Whatever platform you're on, they're going to be beamed over here, over to my iPad. First of all, what question do you have for me about the DeFi space? Secondly, what do you believe that DeFi will revolutionize finance, or why do you think it will revolutionize finance and give financial freedom back to the people? Tell me why you think that's true. Third, Do you think that cryptocurrencies are going to go up or down from here, and why? And finally, have you invested in DeFi platforms, and if so, which ones and why? And the last question I'm going to ask you is, do you think what Elon Musk says about DeFi and crypto matters? That's my question for you, and I'm going to give you my answer shortly. All right, let's get into part one, because I want to answer all questions and talk about what is DeFi. That's the thing I want to answer for you. What is DeFi? And I want to get into all of the details around what that means when it comes to what is DeFi. Well, put simply, DeFi gives financial freedom back to the people. And also you might want to know, what is the difference between cryptocurrencies and DeFi? I get this question all the time, and I want to cover it today. So let's get down to the basics, because it's important that I talk about this. And quite honestly, it's important that I repeat this stuff, because it takes a while for this to really seep in to your core layer of your brain level and even down into your body. Because when you really understand these things, it will make more sense and you'll be better to invest those. So decentralized finance, or DeFi, is quite simply this. It's a blockchain-based form of finance that doesn't rely on central financial intermediaries such as brokerages, exchanges, or banks to offer those traditional financial instruments. And this is crucial, because I worked for these institutions for 15 years of my life. I started off in 1993 and I worked for Bankers Trust in New York City until 1995. Then I moved to Chicago and I worked for the First National Bank of Chicago. I ran their entire US Treasury derivatives desk for 2 more years. Then I moved to London and I was an interdealer broker in credit derivatives. I worked for ICAP PLC for 2 years, and later I moved back to London and worked for another 9 years for ICAP PLC as well, where we pretty much led the market when it came to credit derivatives index swaps, and we made a ton of money. And one thing I know is this: centralized financial institutions do not have your interests at stake. They just don't. Their job is to make a lot of money, and we made a lot of money. DeFi changes all of that, because DeFi uses smart contracts on blockchains, the most common right now being Ethereum, where that could change, where applications known as DApps, or decentralized applications, perform financial functions on digital ledgers called blockchains that are public and open to everyone to see. The transparency is so important here. And this is a technology we first saw utilized by Bitcoin back 12 years ago, but it's evolved much, much more since then. And again, let me repeat, this concept of an open blockchain means that everything is public and everything is transparent, including the fees. I cannot emphasize how important this is, because the reason we made so much money on Wall Street and in the city of London and in Chicago is because we weren't transparent. We didn't give you all the information. You couldn't see the fees we were being charged. That's how they make their money. So when you make everything transparent, it means the traditional banking, quote unquote, business as usual is going to be completely disrupted, with the customer, that's you and me and all the citizens around the world, and the speed of innovation both being the big winners. And let me repeat that. The customer is the big winner, and the speed of innovation is the big winner. And right now it's estimated that the centralized finance sector, also known as CeFi, is extracting over $9.1 trillion per year from the global economy. Think about that. $9 trillion a year is being pulled out from the global economy by centralized finance right now. That's more money than is pulled out from the utilities sector, the communication service sector, and the real estate sector, which is massive, combined. That's how big it is. If we can disrupt it, that $9 trillion can be routed other places, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because the innovation probably brings another 10x increase in the amount of money available. And again, most of this draw is unseen from the public, and that's $9 trillion just waiting to be disrupted and redistributed on a mass scale, which is where DeFi comes in and these incredible investment opportunities that I want to talk about today. And I go into more detail inside the Defy Academy, which means basically this: no more shady middlemen. And yes, I'm talking about those bankers out there, those brokers, all right? And I used to be both of those people. It means no more of you bankers ripping out these huge spreads because of a lack of transparency. And again, I did this for 15 years. I know the game. It also means no more banks keeping their customers in the dark when it comes to dangerous risk exposure. Anybody remember the mortgage crisis of 2008? We all paid for that. Why? Because you didn't understand your risk exposure. DeFi is going to change all this. And it means no more bankers ripping off hardworking people and citizens around the world from their savings, your mortgages, your car loans, your school loans, your investment portfolios, your insurance contracts, your retirement accounts, your trusts, your wills. Everything that you would typically go to a financial institution for is now going to change with DeFi and the blockchain. It's going to completely revolutionize the way we as customers understand and interact with our money. And let me say this because this is an important point. The closer you get to really feeling, touching, understanding your finances, the more they'll actually be a part of you. Right now, money is something that most people don't understand. Oh, I don't get it. My financial advisor takes care of that. My bank takes care of that. I've got an IRA. I've got a 401k. Who are you kidding? You are losing so much money and you're out of touch with your money because of that. Like so many of us are out of touch with our own bodies. We're out of touch with so many things in our lives. I want to get you reintegrated to something that's so fundamental in almost every moment of your life. Because every moment of your life is a transaction. Why not own that and feel comfortable with that? It's going to change what money means to you. And I actually think that DeFi is going to make the world less money obsessed, because it's easy to obsess about something when you actually don't know what it is. And that's the biggest problem when I see people and when I talk to people that are coming inside my Defy Academy. They don't even know what it is. They don't have a real relationship with money. So they're scared of it, they hoard it, and they misunderstand it. And we're going to change all that. And that's why me and my team are going all in on this technology and infrastructure. And we plan on spending the next 10 years teaching, broadcasting, understanding, educating, investing in, and profiting from this incredible new marketplace. And I couldn't be more excited. So that is my definition of DeFi. And I'll be keeping to tell you this almost every single week because I need to bring you up to speed with all the nuances here. Next question I get asked all the time is, Brian, is DeFi the same as trading cryptocurrencies? And again, right now, if you could type into the chat, tell me if you've traded cryptocurrencies. Just say, yes, I've traded crypto. No, I haven't traded crypto, because I'd like to get a sense right now of this audience and what they're doing. And let me just say this. Cryptocurrencies are not the same as DeFi. And let me try to explain that. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are more analogous to assets like gold, whereas DeFi is the actual infrastructure, more like the global financial system, the banks, the insurance companies, the brokerage companies, all of that. That's really what DeFi is more analogous to. And let's look at an example. Gold prices go up and down. Cryptocurrency prices, as we've seen recently, go up and down. And here's the news. They're going to continue to go up and down for probably the next 100 years. This is the reality. But the global financial system always stays present, and it actually innovates over time constantly. Even when we have setbacks like stock market crashes and savings and loan mishaps and mortgage crises, actually the infrastructure constantly improves, which is why you usually get better services online, etc. But that's still centralized finance. One of the great analogies that Andreas Antonopoulos, who's been on my show over the past 6 years, one of the real great experts when it comes to understanding Bitcoin and all things blockchain, he told me this, and I'm going to play this video for you a little bit later. He said, Brian, do you remember back in 2000 what happened with the dot-com boom? And I said, actually, I do, because I was the 27-year-old CFO of a dot-com startup in New York City called LuxuryFinder.com. And here's a quick story. I actually left London in 1999 to take this job as a dot-com CFO in a startup in New York City. And one of my best friends from MIT called me up and said, Brian, he said, get your ass to New York. You got to be part of this revolution, and I got this job for you. And I said, I'm kind of in the middle of here. I'm actually in the financial markets. And he said, this is where you want to be. So I flew back, and within 3 weeks, I had moved back to New York City. I left all my furniture and everything in London. I didn't care. And I started going into the dot-com boom. And everything was amazing, and we were all worth millions of dollars on paper. And in 2000, the market crashed. And the NASDAQ crashed, and I think over $1 trillion of value was lost in that market. Now, that's a good example of an asset price going up and down, like a crypto or the stock price of eluxury.com or the price of Bitcoin. But what happened in the year 2000? Something no one talks about. It was the greatest year for the internet on record. Now, what do you mean by that, Brian? What do you mean the greatest year? Well, clearly it wasn't. The NASDAQ lost half of its value. Yes, but everyone in the world started looking at the internet as a solution to their future. They started using it to buy books and buy jewelry. They started using it to consume content. They started using it for search. They started using it for every day of their life. So actually 2000 was one of the biggest wins for the internet and internet integrated into commerce. And yet we were focused on an asset price that goes up and down and up and down. This is a similar analogy to DeFi. We're going to see Bitcoin go up and down. We're going to see Elon Musk tweet out this and that. But DeFi, as the infrastructure, is going to constantly be improving. And if you had bet on the internet back in 2000, your gains right now would be 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. Think about that. If you had invested in some of those early companies back then, you would be a winner right now. We're going to do the same thing inside my DeFi Academy. And so think about that analogy. Let it seep in because it's important to understand what's going to happen. And again, I want you to understand this. The financial system has been centralized now for the past couple of hundred, maybe even a couple thousand years, if you think about it. And therefore, its rate of innovation and improvement has been very slow. And there's a great book that I recommend you reading, although don't get stuck inside a book by not taking action. It's called The Innovator's Dilemma. And it says simply this: the market dominant force will never innovate. Let me repeat, the market dominant force will never innovate. Walmart used to be the greatest retailer in the world. How come Amazon.com ate their lunch when it came to online sales? Why? Because by definition, Walmart won't innovate. They're just not motivated to because things are too good for their business. They'll never dedicate the resources. They'll never have the company culture to actually create that change. And there are repeated issues of this throughout history. And that's why always the innovator, the nimble one, will win. Why do I have more subscribers than most every single newspaper here in London, the major publications? Because I was an innovator and I went there and created my YouTube channel. And now I've got more subscribers and more views than the Times of London and the Telegraph. Why? Because I'm the innovator. The same thing applies for decentralized finance. The centralized finance institutions like the banks, sure, they'll offer you banking online, but that's not the same as decentralized finance, as I will show you in week 1 inside the DeFi Academy. And that's why we're going to focus on this space. And again, let me just clarify. This space is growing at a rate that I've never witnessed in history. And I was part of the dot-com boom. I didn't see a market that was growing 88 times in 1 year. That's an 8,800% rate growth. You don't see this. This is never seen. And that's why I couldn't be more excited about this. And that's why we're going all in on this technology. So I hope that helped for you. I want to play for you a short clip of our good friend Andreas Antonopoulos. Again, we used to call him the Bitcoin Jesus back in the day. And this clip is from 6 years ago, but the reality still holds true. And this is him trying to explain the difference between Bitcoin and decentralized finance. He's not calling it DeFi at this point because the term wasn't around, but he's trying to explain how Bitcoin is more analogous to email, whereas the internet is more analogous to decentralized finance. Here's a short clip of Andreas explaining this phenomenon.
The easiest way to explain it is this. If you are introduced to the internet in 1992, you may make the obvious mistake of assuming that email is the internet. And for a very long time, email and the internet are indistinguishable. It's not until 95 that the web comes along. And when you have two major applications on the platform, that allows you to see the platform. Until then, when there's only one application, you confuse the application and the platform. Bitcoin, the currency, is email. It's not the real invention. It's the first application of that invention. So Bitcoin as a whole is not just money for the internet. It's the internet of money. And currency is just the first application on the internet of money. And there is a whole set of applications that we can build on top of that. So when I read the paper, that's what I started realizing. This is a platform. And on top of it, you can build decentralized trust mechanisms. And currency is the obvious first application. And that alone is huge. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely huge. But it's not even the beginning.
And again, incredible insight from Andreas. He's always there to really hit it home with an incredible observation. Again, Bitcoin is email. Decentralized finance is the internet. Think about it that way. Bitcoin was just a tiny, tiny part of what would soon become a massive ecosystem, as we knew. But back in the early 90s, we thought email was the internet, just like a lot of people thought Bitcoin was decentralized finance. It's not. It's 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5 dimensions bigger, things you couldn't even imagine. Imagine that first email you got. Did you ever think you could buy a book on your mobile on the back of that? Probably not. That's how that evolved, and that's how we're going to see centralized finance or decentralized finance evolve in the future. So I want to go to your questions right now. Again, they're going to be beamed right here onto my iPad. First of all, tell me, what questions do you have to me about the DeFi space? Second, why do you believe that DeFi will revolutionize finance and give the financial freedom back to the people? Third, do you think cryptocurrencies will go up or down from here, and why? And fourth, have you invested in DeFi platforms, and if so, which ones and why? Let me ask one more question. Do you think what Elon Musk says matters when it comes to crypto and DeFi? Put that one in there as well. So I'm going to your questions right now. Again, whatever platform you're on, give me those questions and tell me what's on your mind. I really want to hear them because this is exciting stuff here and I love it. I've got Marek Wodarski here, says, hey Brian, very good idea. Is it a really decentralized project or partly centralized? He's asking me about AML and KYC, which is Know Your Client. And look, it's very interesting, your question right here. Right now, what we want to do is we're creating an elite group of people that are going to spend the next 10 years investing in this entire ecosystem of decentralized finance. And so again, we are looking for people of our parts of this spectrum. We're looking for people that want to develop, they want to invest, they want to empower, they want to market as well. And so that's what we're looking inside the DeFi Academy. If you think that's for you, we'd love to see your application, londonreal.tv/DeFi. And that's where we're headed from there. And I couldn't be more excited about what's happening. Again, submit your application. We're only looking for the right people here. And we couldn't be more excited with what's about to happen. I got Anthony Nelms on Instagram saying, Brian, gonna rock our world. You know this. I feel like I've spent the last 50 years of my life preparing to be part of this revolution when it comes to DeFi. I feel like the last 50 years of my life have really got me ready for this, and I couldn't be more excited. We've got PK921 on Instagram saying, quote, I've been interested in investing in a number of cryptocurrencies, but the levels of market volatility, I've been a little hesitant. Is DeFi a better option for me, unquote? It's a great question, PK921. And again, back to my analogy of Bitcoin was the email, DeFi is the internet. Think about that. Bitcoin was the email, DeFi is the internet. So yes, cryptocurrencies will always bring volatility to them because they're being adopted, they're being abandoned. They're being adopted and they're being abandoned by people who don't know how to trade. And I'm going to talk about this in the second section. When you get newbie traders, that equals market volatility. And that's what we're seeing here. And in some of the equity headlines that we've seen as recently as well. DeFi is about investing long-term in the infrastructure that's going to change our future. Imagine if back when you filed your first email in 1991, and by the way, I sent my first email in 1989 from MIT. It was called the Athena Project, and I sent it to my brother at Stanford, and I don't even think he replied. And so imagine back then thinking this was the internet. It's not. What we're thinking about is something in the future we can't even conceive of, but we know it's going to be important. And that's the way we're going in to looking at DeFi. And we're looking to people to go in with open eyes, looking to create value for other people and invest themselves and be part of this wealth creation. So great question. I appreciate those. Keep that coming. I got Never Lacking Rod on Instagram says amen. So I guess you're feeling us and I appreciate that. We got Aaron Analog Picks on Instagram says, what's the difference between DeFi and cryptos like Ripple? So again, I kind of explained that. A lot of the cryptos right now are part of the DeFi infrastructure. And so again, you've got to do a deeper dive into a lot of these different quote unquote cryptos because some are our traditional coins that we know like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they bring volatility with them and they also bring other things. We've also got things like stable coins like DAI, which is literally attempted to be pegged to the value of $1. And that's an attempt to make something ultra stable. We've also got things like Ripple and Armor, which are coins that are going to be part of the infrastructure of DeFi, but oftentimes they bring their own volatility as well. And these are some of the many topics that we're going to be covering inside the DeFi Academy. One thing I've realized in the marketplace is there's no trusted source of information. And that's one of the reasons that most people so far are applying to the DeFi Academy because they said, Brian, I don't know who to talk to and I don't know who to trust. And that's why I'm coming to you. And so we're creating an incredible group of intelligent people inside that we can all trust. And it's absolutely amazing. I'm hearing the gong hit out there, which basically means someone just joined our DeFi Academy. And we hit the gong every time here. We've obviously found someone that we think is an elite person who's going to be part of our team. And I just heard the gong grow out there. So fantastic. If my team can give me their first name, I'll give them a shout out here as well. A couple more comments, and then I want to get out to section 2 as well. We've got Arno on IG saying, from Belgium, great mission. Thank you, Arno. We appreciate it. I hope you're a part of it. Someone said, in answer to the question, do you think cryptocurrencies go up or down from here, and why? Peter Butterworth on YouTube says, up, baby, all the way. Crypto is showing us that our pension schemes are robbing us blind. Peter Butterworth, it's a great plan. You know, I spoke to someone recently, and they said, what would I rather buy, cryptocurrency or gold? And they said crypto. And this is from an old school Wall Street friend of mine who's in their 50s. And I said, really? You're willing to go all in on that asset? And he said, look, Brian, look at our financial institutions. They've been lying to us our entire lives. They've been taking out margins. They've been charging us transaction fees. They've been pulling the very soul out of our long-term investment portfolio. That's my children's future. He said, why would I trust that institution? I would rather invest in something that I know is going to be a crucial part of our future. So I've bought the Bitcoin, I've put it in cold storage, and I'm leaving it there for my children in 20 years. And it was a fascinating observation. And Peter, obviously you agree with this, and I think it's an important point. And again, when it comes to hot and cold storage and how to store your crypto, we'll be covering all of that inside DeFi Academy. It's a very important point because with the new system of decentralized finance, the onus is on you to protect your assets. And therefore, you have to be careful about it, but there are many options that you can do that. So great questions. Keep these coming in. Keep giving me questions on all the platforms. And after this broadcast is over, leave me your questions below. I'll be going those and answering those as well. Couple more questions here. We've got, let me see. Oh, someone else said, let me see. Someone answered the question, why do you believe that DeFi will revolutionize finance and give financial freedom back to the people? Colacao Calentito says on YouTube, to me, DeFi represents financial freedom. There's a lack of financial education too, which DeFi can help address. And that's a great point, Colacao. There's no education currently going on in the centralized finance world. Why is that? Why don't they educate you? Well, let's think about that. Back in the day, in the Industrial Revolution, did they teach, the workers how to read and write? Well, in the beginning, they didn't. Why would they? Because they wanted them to be good little worker bees and come and do the tasks they're told to do and then go home. And that's why education was held back for so many of the citizens of the world for so long. The same is true with financial education. Why would the banks, the mortgage companies, the financial institutions, why would they try to educate you on the processes that make them $9 trillion per year? When was the last time a banker or a mortgage company said, oh, this is easy, you can do this on your own, you don't need my help? It's the opposite. It's always like, it's complicated, I'm gonna have to get you financing, your application has to be approved. Why? Why is all that nonsense in there? You need a trusted financial advisor, why? Why do they do that? They do that to withhold information. And so part of our mission here at London Real and then the DeFi Academy is to educate. We've been doing this for 10 years. It's to empower you with the knowledge which will make you more connected to your money. Again, I think we face a massive disconnection from our money these days, which makes us hoard it, which makes us, we almost idolize it, and then we can't connect to it. And then when we do get the money, we don't even know what to do with it because it doesn't make us happy, because we haven't actually integrated it into the fabric of our lives. With decentralized finance, it'll just be like another part of your life. You'll be connected to it, it'll fill a function, and then quite frankly, you can get on with living your life, because that's what I think life is for living, not for hoarding assets or worried about storing money away in some secret account. That's not what this is about. And so our mission to educate goes much further than simply building a lot of wealth creation or making a lot of money. DeFi Academy is about more than that. And so that's a great question, and thank you for asking. A couple more coming here. Kadir Gulikin on Instagram says, there is no bank involved. Amen. That's exactly what we're talking about here. That's the point. We get the banks out of the loop, and that means you and I win. I've got Sad in Company Holdings on Instagram says, would you say to buy, sell, or hold cryptocurrency at this point in time? And that's a great question. And I want to say, first of all, we're not here to give financial advice. I'm not here to give personalized financial advice. And again, I'm not here to buy and sell cryptos. I think that's looking at this whole space like sending and receiving emails. I'm looking at building long-term infrastructure, But I am going to talk about my mentality when it comes to trading the markets, and I'm going to cover that in the second section. And I'll talk about how people deal with volatile markets, how to invest in volatile markets, and the emotional process is very important. And we'll be covering that in Module 3 and 4 inside the DeFi Academy as well. A couple more questions here, and then I want to get back to the good stuff. I got Anthony Escobedo on YouTube that says, I made in 2 years what it took a guy 25 years in a 401k. I'm not a sucker to work my whole life. And Anthony, it's really well said. If you look at the transaction fees that they suck out of your 401ks, it's bordering on criminal. And again, these long-term compounded gains that you really need in a long-term investment get pulled out with these transaction fees that you never even see coming. I'm talking about 4, 5, 9, 10% transaction fees over time. And it basically ruins all of your wealth. It goes into someone else's pocket and your children and grandchildren suffer. Enough. We're giving financial freedom back to the people, and I'm so glad you brought that point up. A couple more. We got Richard Neville on YouTube that says, are we headed for the stock market and collapse of the financial system? Crypto will crash with it, but how soon are we looking at a utility adoption of crypto, and in particular, DeFi afterwards? These are a great question. There's a lot of questions there as well. You know, a lot of people in the DeFi space criticize fiat currencies. And I've had guests on my show here, London Real, for the last 5 years, 10 years, criticizing fiat currencies, from Max Kaiser to Jim Rickards to Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, who, by the way, will be here live on Monday talking about cryptocurrencies. And we'll have his content also, especially inside the DeFi Academy. But, you know, these are big questions. And these are things I will be covering inside the Academy and inside the course. I personally don't believe the fiat currency system is going to crash anytime soon. I personally don't believe the stock market's going to crash anytime soon. But I do believe that DeFi and investing in the infrastructure of DeFi, I believe there's a short window of time. I'm talking about months and years right now where all the crucial infrastructure is going to be built. And I want to be a part of it. And I'm looking for people that want to be a part of building something for the future. That's it. I'm not looking for people that want to get rich quick. I don't need that energy in my life. I don't need it. I want people that want to build, that want to give back to others, that want to serve, and create something that your grandchildren are going to be telling stories about. You know what my grandpa did back in 2021? He built this. That's the kind of energy we're bringing inside the DeFi Academy. And I'll bring my predictions later, Richard Neville, but I appreciate the question. Triple Cross Clothing on Instagram says, love it, Brian Rose. Keep talking truths. I appreciate you as well. And Smacker Neil on Instagram says, I'm an Aussie native and I buy and hold digital assets and DeFi ECTs. Good man. I like that, Smacker. And I am an investor in DeFi as well. And I am buying and holding these things just for the future. And by the way, that was Reddy that just joined us inside the Academy. So congrats, Reddy. We will see you there on our first live call on the 21st. Get in the Facebook group right away. Upload your introduction video. The people in that group are next level. I mean, seriously, we have some amazing people with incredible experience, great trading experience, amazing insights. Some of these people have already invested in some of these DeFi companies. I mean, it's an elite group of people. I couldn't be more excited to get in here and kick this off. So let me talk about section 2 here. And I want to talk about my personal background in finance and tell you my story. You might enjoy this story. And again, feel free to put your questions in here. And I want to talk about my whole journey. This is a picture of a trading floor in New York City. And this is a little bit like what my trading floor looked like back in 1993 when I was at Banker Stress. Mine was actually bigger than this. It was massive, and it was incredibly a lot to take in, if I'm honest with you. And you know, let me tell you a little bit about myself first, because I was recruited at MIT back in 1993 by all the investment banks and trading companies in America. And I'm going to put another slide up really quick here as well and show you some of the things that we would look at back in the way and some of the things I'm looking at right now. And this is, by the way, options volatility on Bitcoin. And the reason I put this up right now is because my 15 years of experience on Wall Street will allow me to decode this diagram for you. And this shows, by the way, call option and put option, buys and sells, and blocked plays currently on Bitcoin. And this tells you a lot about what's going on in the marketplace. It also tells you about what's going on with volatility. You can actually buy and sell volatility in the marketplace. And there's a lot of interesting metrics like option delta, gamma, and theta that you need to understand when it comes to these markets. And again, I'll come back to that diagram shortly, but my experience on Wall Street allows me to process that. So again, back to my story. Back in 1993, I was sitting at MIT. I was actually back in 1992. And I had just had 2 summer jobs in engineering companies. I worked at Ford Motor Company for the summer, which was amazing because I had a Ford Mustang when I was a kid and I thought I wanted to be a mechanical engineer my whole life. And I worked there and I looked around and I said, I don't want to be one of these guys who at 60 years old is making 50 grand a year and he's living in Michigan. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. So the next summer I worked for the Aerospace Corporation in Los Angeles. This was a special consultancy for the United States government. We worked on aerospace projects and space projects. I worked on the Galileo space probe for 2 summers actually. And then I looked at that and I thought, I don't really want to do this. And then I saw the movie Wall Street and I got excited about options and stocks and finance. I started taking classes at the Sloan School of Finance. They actually let the undergraduates do that at MIT. And I was crushing it. So here I was, some 20-year-old kid, and I was smoking all these 27-year-old MBA students who had just come back from their careers on Wall Street to learn options at MIT. And they didn't understand, quadratic equations like I did. And so we were smoking them in there. And I took accounting, options pricing, financial theory. And after that taste, I thought, I'm going straight to Wall Street. And so a bunch of banks and investment banks came and interviewed me. I flew from Boston to New York City. I put my best suit on I could, and I interviewed. And it was an incredible experience. There's a picture of me graduating from MIT. This is, I think, in May of 1993. And literally, a few months later, I packed a van, all my stuff in a van, and drove from Boston to New York City, and I started my career on Wall Street. And the reason Wall Street was looking for engineers is because they needed smart math and engineering students to price these complex derivative instruments. And that's why they went and found me. And I still remember my interview. I still remember my first day at Bankers Trust. It was on the 33rd floor of Bankers Trust Plaza, which was the building right next to the World Trade Center before it got knocked down, right, in 2001. And on one side of the 33rd floor, you could look right into the building. You could see all of Uptown Manhattan. On the other side, you could see the Statue of Liberty. And I would walk up there and I'd literally pinch myself. I'm like, I must be in a movie. And there was a massive trading floor as well. It must have been 300 people on there, all open plan floor, people yelling, people swearing, alpha males threatening people. Sometimes there were fights, millions upon tens of millions of dollars being made, guys in their 20s that were macking it with penthouses in New York City. I mean, it was crazy. And I loved every minute of it. And I learned how to price and trade some of the most complex derivative transactions in the world. I traded hundreds of millions of dollars worth of US government treasuries. I traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I traded on the Chicago Board of Trade. And they gave me a phone and said, go for it. I was 22 years old and running a massive, massive book of risk. And I learned all about how to trade. And it's a complex idea and it's not easy to do. And you need to know how to check your emotions and you need to know what's going on. And our job was to create these complex options and financial instruments and package them for our clients that were corporates, that were institutions, et cetera. And when I started looking into the DeFi space months and years ago, I looked at what's happening now and I thought, wow, I haven't seen this in 30 years. 30 years ago, we had rocket scientists doing what they're doing right now in the past 12 months in the DeFi space. And it's growing at a rate that's incomprehensible to me. The things that are happening right now in decentralized finance on some of these incredible platforms took Wall Street 30 or 40 or 50 years to create and innovate. I'm telling you, some of these yield farming things that are going on where you can take your crypto assets and earn yield on them took the financial markets of Wall Street 20 years to create. And they're still not as transparent and liquid at what's happening in decentralized finance today. I'm telling you, from someone who's been in this business for 15 years and started 30 years ago, I recognize what incredible things are happening here. And that's why we're deciding to go all in on this. And so again, I'm bringing all of my experience on Wall Street into this equation. And I'm sharing it with all of my students in the Defy Academy. And I'm trying to bring all of my experience of the centralized world into the decentralized world. And I want to talk about something really quick before we get finished here. And I wondered if we could put the graph back up of the Bitcoin options piece, because I want to just show that again. And again, let me explain what this is. These are call options and put options on Bitcoin. That's what they are. And it shows the buying volume and the selling volume and the block volume of these options. That's what that is. Now, for most of you, that might not make a lot of sense. So let me see if I can break it down for you. Most people out there buy and sell cryptocurrencies. And you can take the slide off now and come back to me. So most people out there, if you're watching me right now, you might have had some experience buying or selling a crypto. But buying an option on a crypto is a different instrument. Now let me explain it like this. Say Bitcoin's trading at $36,000 right now, and you believe it's going to go to $45,000. Well, you got a couple options on how you can take on that risk. You can buy Bitcoin, but that means you got to come up with $36,000 and buy a Bitcoin and wait for it to go up. Okay, great. It might also go down by $9,000, and you're going to have to own that risk. Or you could buy a call option struck at $40,000 3 months from now that says if the price goes above $40,000, you have the option to buy it at $40,000, which means this. If Bitcoin goes up, you can exercise that option and profit. And if Bitcoin goes way up, you can profit massively because that option is going to be much cheaper to buy than the current spot price of Bitcoin.